What's good?
What in the world?
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. All right. Shit, man. I'm just kind of just getting my day started, man. It's like 12 o'clock, 12:30 over here. Um,
Okay, that's what's up. Well, let's jump right into it, bro.
all right.
Um, from Cleveland, collage artist, designer, all of that good stuff. We probably met probably like 2015. I think I met Chad first. Let's get into that. Let's get into Lab Cabin Crew, Lake Effect Studios, all of that. Let's start back then. The movement in Cleveland, and we can move over to, moving to Cali, going to PA, doing the fashion line, the whole gamut. So get into it.
Uh, well, shit. So me and Chad started LabCab back in 2013, I think. And it really was just us and a couple other people just getting together, making art together at Lake Effect Studios, really before Lake Effect even opened up.
Mm.
Chad is like best friends with the owner of the building and all that. So I mean, he was just always there. And then I think we met at a party at Lake Effect, like very briefly. And he just invited me to come through one day, and I think I helped him paint or something like that. And we just hit it off from there, man. It's been like my brother since then, man. We
Shout out
did
to
it,
Chad for sure.
yeah, man. Definitely did a lot together out there, man. We yeah, so we fast forward, we created Lab Cabin Cleveland. It's just like a crew of us and our friends, like I said before. And then we would do like public art jobs and stuff like that we would get here and there. I was doing stuff with Famiko's Foundation. Are you familiar with Famiko's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do stuff with them. So they passed off a couple like public art projects, and then I would just break bread with my homies. Have them partner up on us or partner up with us doing that. And
So
yeah, man, we had a lot of fun.
how was that making noise? Because I ain't really see no crews, no collectors back in Cleveland like doing nothing like that. At the same time, I saw Chad was doing something with those sneaker boxes and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, y'all was landed in Pressure magazine on the
Yeah.
first issue. Shout out
Yeah.
to Pressure magazine too, because I was in there in December. So
Nice. Hell yeah, man.
yeah.
I mean, no, it was cool. It wasn't like we trying to be the first of anything or whatever. It really was just us homies, and like that sense of camaraderie. We're all like-minded artists. We spend a lot of time together. We might as well form a crew of some kind, I guess.
Yeah.
It just came naturally. Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Let's jump into like your style, man. Very unique collage art. Some might get it confused a little bit with probably some Photoshop, kind of doing Photoshop, but actual Natural Geographic magazines really combing through those. And let's get into that style. And you was always doing the collage stuff, or was you?
So actually, it really started. Well, honestly, I've been an artist my whole life. So I'm like throughout that journey of being an artist my whole life, I've picked up on a number of different mediums. First, I was drawing, and then fast forward up to like late middle school, high school life, I was doing graffiti type shit, and then it turned into an interest in fashion. And while I was like doing little basic like t-shirt design stuff, like airbrushing and all that kind of stuff, I had also been introduced to Adobe Photoshop back in like 2005. So I've been using Photoshop and stuff like that since 2005. Yeah, so like 15 years really. From that, I ended up getting into to graphic design. And I studied graphic design for 2 years in high school.
What high school you go to?
I went to Garfield.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But we had this vocational school called Cuyahoga Valley Career Center. So what I would do basically is the first half of the day I would be at Garfield, and then we would take a bus to Cuyahoga Valley Career Center in Brecksville. They had a graphic design class. They had a like a screen printing class, like auto mechanic and like salon and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was doing graphic design, and like, excuse my French, but my teacher was an asshole. So yeah, like she doubted me really hard. She actually told me that I was not a real artist. I would never make it as a real artist or anything like that.
How was you when this was going on?
This was sophomore and was no, my bad. It was a high school, no, not high school, junior high. Damn, junior. I was a junior in high school to senior in high school. So my last 2 years of high school, I was doing that.
Was you discouraged after that, or was you still just like it was still in your DNA?
No, I wasn't discouraged because I knew how strong my drive and my passion was for what I was trying to do. So it was like, I don't care what she's talking about. I'm gonna do this. Like this is gotta be what my life is gonna be. It's gonna be. Yeah, I just, I was playing with Photoshop before I even got to that class. So when I got to the class and then we had the whole Adobe Creative Suite available to us on like the Big Mac desktop, that was like a playground to me. So I would just play with that stuff. And then like I had a little computer at home. I would mess around with it on as well. And I would design little pictures with words and stuff like that. Almost like memes before memes were memes. When it wasn't funny though. It was like me trying to be cool type stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, that turned into that turned into me just taking graphic design more seriously and then applying it to starting a t-shirt brand halfway through my high school experience. My first brand was called Lane Brotherhood.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I think I saw some of that you had showed me. What was it called? What was it called? The first t-shirt?
Lane Brotherhood.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. Were you selling stuff? You was getting some popularity from that and all that stuff.
So it was something that I had been building since I started using Adobe Photoshop, but it was kind of like I want to do this when I grow up type thing. But then I would say like halfway through my senior year of high school, I actually put the money towards getting an order of t-shirts made, and I would sell them to my friends in school and stuff like that. I made a flyer. I would post it up around the school and all that.
So you was outsourcing it locally, silk screen stuff. There was jackets too, right?
That was like, well, yeah, I was doing that, but yeah, it was all local. But the first batch that I got was actually by these guys in Euclid that had this airbrush shop. They used to print stuff for me. I think they did like my first 2 orders, and then I immediately went over to Jack Prince. My cousin was familiar with Jack Prince, and he got me hip to him. So I started working with them, and then I worked with them for a while, and then switched around a little bit to who was printing for me and all that. But yeah, man, it was a long journey. It's a long journey. A lot of learning came from that.
Talk about how you formulated your style and found yourself in this unique space, because I ain't really seen nobody doing no collage art to the magnitude of what you was doing. I'm seeing you doing workshops. I'm seeing you turning into murals and stuff like that too. Self-published books, all of that stuff. So let's get into that.
Man, so I started doing collage back in 2013. I had recently left college. I went to college in Pittsburgh. I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, actually. I left school, came back to Cleveland for a while, and I was still just doing the graphic design thing heavy. But I would, upload my personal art up to a Tumblr page, and I would follow other artists. And I ended up coming across this other collage artist that was making some really dope stuff. And like, I remembered I had this big box of magazines in the corner of my room that I wasn't doing anything with. I actually had those magazines donated to me by a family friend that's in the fashion industry that wanted me to study these fashion magazines for when I went to school. But I didn't do it. I didn't take it seriously, I guess. So yeah, they just sat there for a while until I had discovered this collage artist. And I'm like, let me give this a try because it looks fun. So I gave it a try and I immediately fell in love with it. I just never stopped doing it from that point on. And then, you know, it's transformed over the years to me dabbling in self-publishing books with the collage art that I do. I've now self-published 2 art books. The first one being titled God Body, where what I did was I collaborated with like 12 other local poets and writers, and had them write poetic responses to the 78 pieces that I had featured in the book. And we gave the writers and poets like actual like notebooks to write in. And what I did was I just took what they actually wrote and scanned that in there. So it was like, because it's like the real raw writing, not like typed out. You know, I wanted it all to be real. You know, because that's what the collages were. It wasn't, the collages weren't Photoshop. They were from like magazines and stuff. So I wanted the real writing from writers and poets as well. And that ended up being it's a really good release of mine. I feel like that really changed the trajectory of my career as an artist when I started doing that. Because it just opened up another door to me, something that I wasn't really familiar with. I didn't know that there was a whole like culture around art books and zines and stuff like that. Even when I came up with the idea to do that book, I just wanted a way to show people a bunch of the work that I had been doing over the years. And then once I did that, I realized that there's a whole thing behind this. Like people are making art books and stuff all the time. So I went from doing that to releasing my latest book, We Live in Purgatory, Changed My Mind. I put that out last February, actually. And that one is a collection of the work that I've done since putting out God Body. But it's also paired with conversations that I had with friends and people that I respect about my theory that we live in something similar to purgatory. And when I say purgatory, I mean like the in-between of heaven and hell. Like I feel like that's what our existence on earth is like. Like we have a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, but they coexist in the same space. So I did artwork that relates to that. And then I had those conversations with people over modern forms of communication, like text messages, emails, Facebook comments, direct messages on Instagram. I had one in there from Tinder, you know what I mean? Just all kind of forms of modern communication. And I paired all of that up into collages as well and just compiled it into my latest book.
Let me ask you something. That's dope. Love it all. So, you know, me being in the graphics and stuff, it's a little, I guess, I don't want to say it's easier for me because I can just do a search on Google and look for what I'm looking for. You piling through books. You might not have the books. So tell me about that process of like, it's time consuming finding the pieces. Like I got cut pieces. The process feels like it's a lot of work, bro. Can you talk about it?
It seems like it's a lot of work, but I guess like the way that I do it just works for me, really. I really equate it to DJs and like producers who sample music. Like you'll go to a record store and pick up a record and hope to find something on there to sample and make something else out of it. It's a form of curation out of the sounds that you might find. But that's the same thing with me looking through magazines, to where I really can just sit and flip through a magazine and like you can't really. The thing that I really love about collage is that you can't plan it. It's got to be whatever you have right in front of you.
Yeah.
So you can't just like go into it with a theme in mind and like you know like it's really hard. Like some people.
No, I get it. So
that.
it's like accidental, serendipitous type creative juices going, like, you know, because sometimes
working with what
speed up. Go ahead.
It's working with what you have. You know what I mean?
Talk about the logo just a little bit. It's a red box on somewhere on there. Tell me about that.
So the red box is actually a symbol. It's funny, I was talking about this last night in a Zoom workshop I was doing. So it's a symbol that represents me. But like, so I mean, I used to go to this class back in 2013 that was about Black people's original religion before Christianity was put on us, and like how we used to worship the stars and numerology and color, like all that kind of like coincided together, right?
Yeah.
So numbers and colors go together. So like certain colors are representative of other numbers, like the number scale 0 through 9, basically. So the number 2 is represented by the color red. And then, so I use the color red in the square to represent the number 2. But then a square is 4 sides. That together is 24, and 24 is my birthday, November 24th.
Dope.
So it's kind of like a code for me.
Dope. Can you touch on a little bit, because I know you was in Cleveland, you moved to PA for a minute, and then you moved to California. Can you talk about being an artist at this magnitude and trying to get some exposure? Can you talk about the frustrations and the challenges of being an artist in Cleveland? Can we get into that? I want to hurt some feelings too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience with being an artist in Cleveland was rough. How I would expect it to be rough for most artists in Cleveland. But I can't like beat up on Cleveland about it, because I actually learned why it is that way along the way of my travels. So I actually can't blame for Cleveland for being the way that it is. But what I will say is that what we have to, first of all, you got to look at what it is that you're trying to do with your art. Like, are you trying to take it to those heights to where you can be like working with like, you know, maybe like larger corporations or something like that, doing like commercial work? Or like, are you trying to be up in the galleries and museums and stuff like that, or whatever? You can do that anywhere. It kind of just really all depends on your connection, and that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what your location is. It's just all about who you know and like what your connections are, right? But what I did learn is that being an artist in Cleveland is like there's a glass ceiling, because Cleveland isn't where that industry is thriving at like an exponential rate, like a city like New York or Los Angeles. Like those industries are here in Los Angeles. So the opportunities are endless here. And then people are more used to people being creative and thinking outside of the box and doing all these kind of things that you're not used to, because everybody's doing that kind of stuff here. So it's like an open playing field. But the other end of that is that it's little fish, big pond. You know what I mean? Like big fish, little pond, and then vice versa for other situations. But like being here, I'm one artist out of how many hundreds of thousands that are also trying to make it, shit, if not millions. You know, but the thing for me is that I'm around people that are used to this kind of stuff, and then also there's a lot of money here, so people are able to actually support an artist like myself. Whereas in Cleveland, where you know the cost of living might be lower, but there's less money being made, so people aren't spending money on art like that. So really, what it is like for artists, it's your location and what you want to do with your art. Like, is it just a hobby, or do you want to make a living off of this? Me personally, I want to make a living off of this. I got a taste of what it was like to be able to live off of just art. I did that for about a year in Cleveland before I moved to Pittsburgh, and it was lovely. You know, I mean, I had a nice apartment. I had a studio downtown at Lake Effect. I was able to pay all my bills straight from art. You know, it was cool, but it didn't last long. You know what I mean? But I mean, not to say that there aren't opportunities there. There's definitely opportunities there, because people like us are trying to do different stuff and just keep stuff going.
Talk about talk about you was overseas doing some teaching and doing some work too, and talk about that and tell and kind of speed me up to what you're doing right now too.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm part of this international artist collective called Micro Galleries. They have artists all over the world, and what we do is we go to different locations around the world every year and put on an arts festival that is themed by climate disruption, like our public art projects and stuff like that we'll do are based around climate change and what we can do to educate those that are uneducated on that. I mean, I'm not the most educated on it myself, but part of what we did when I went to Kathmandu back in 2018 was we teamed up with 20 different scientists that basically gave us a 3-day crash course on climate change. And we had to take that crash course and make art around it, public art around it to install for this public art festival that we were doing. And part of that project, what we did was we went to school. We went to a school in the slums, and a few of us taught workshops on what it is that we do. I got to teach a class on collage art to these kids that were at the school in the slums, and honestly, that was one of the best experiences of my life, for like being able to go that far across the globe and share my gifts with somebody, and being able to actually feel a connection with them. Like, I wouldn't have had no other way of getting there otherwise than through my art. And then being able to connect with them and gave them something that they can remember, something that they can feel. And they felt, you could feel the joy coming from them, and like they were like share their culture with us and stuff like that. It was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever been able to experience. You know.
Dope. So you come back a changed man.
Absolutely, man. It gave me. I mean, that was my first time leaving America too, so it gave me like a whole different perspective of the way that the world works. Like, I was kind of dreading coming back to America. Then it's like, damn, like we focus on the wrong things. Like, these people are happy living the way that they live, because they don't have so much expectations from shit or whatever, or you know, they're just more appreciative of life than we are. And we complain about little shit here, you know, but
right.
problem type.
My coffee from Starbucks ain't right.
Right. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So speed me up, bro. We virtual now, basically. So tell me, like, you know, what you've been doing now. Talk about that. Talk about the virtual. You got the virtual art show.
Oh yeah, man. So I found this app or this website where you can design a virtual art gallery. And I basically just, you know, with no 3D mapping skills at all, I just put together this art gallery to display my work. I was trying to find a way to reach people where they are, you know, because like during like the pandemic, when I was having to like social distance and stuff like that, I wanted to take advantage of all this downtime that we have, and create something that can reach people where they are, because that's really what we're going to have to start doing right now. Because I think a lot of us still have it in our minds that we'll one day go back to normal, but really that's not what it is.
Right.
You got to really get ahead of the curve right now and figure out a new way of life, and that was my first step towards doing that. Trying to give people an experience with my art where they don't have to leave their homes, you know. So yeah, the app is called Art Steps. You can search Journey by Dakarai, and like on the app, once you download it, I believe it's for iPhone and Android. So you, like, anybody should be able to get to it. Or you can just go to my website and go to the exhibits tab and check it out. But yeah, man, it was a really cool experience putting that together, man. I just wanted to share with people the work that I have been doing since the lockdown. Like with all this time, all this extra time we got on our hands, I feel like as artists, this is a perfect time for us to be sitting down and honing our skills and trying to figure out ways of reaching our audience better, because the way that we were reaching our audiences before is it may not go back to that. So like the best thing to do is to try to get ahead of the curve and figure out how to reach people right now, because then it's not how it's gonna last.
Yeah, true. I'm kind of teaching online and stuff. So let's land this plane, bro. What's next for you, bro? It seemed like you kind of touched on it, but you know, you doing some collage classes and stuff like that. I was seeing. Is that kind of new for you?
A little bit, yeah. I started doing it back in 2017 when I lived in Pittsburgh. I became an art teacher out there for a little bit, and I was like teaching sophomores in high school how to communicate through collage art without using words. So I decided to take that out of the schools, not take it out of the schools, but like I decided to take that same process and also do a collage workshop at my homie's art gallery in Pittsburgh. And that just got me used to teaching workshops. So once I got out here to LA, I started doing it again. I teamed up with this bookstore in LA called Sideshow Books. The owner is actually from Cleveland Heights. He basically gave me free range to the books that he has in his store, and he allowed me to do collage workshops. I would do it the first and last Thursday of every month until the pandemic happened. But yeah, man, the collage workshop thing has really been like the next frontier for me, man. I'm trying to get more acclimated with being a teaching artist as well as the other things that I do. Another thing to add under my belt, you know.
Yeah, that's dope.
But I've been doing it digitally too. I've been doing it over Zoom with my homie's nonprofit called EIKES. They do like a weekly program of Zoom workshops and stuff like that. So every now and then I'll do one. I did one last night with my homie Kino. We did a workshop that was about selecting. So it was me teaching how I select my material for making collages, but Kino being a DJ, we related it into how he selects songs for a playlist for parties, and we just kind of put them together.
Dope.
So we're starting that as a series. So
that's
dope.
Like
the first one, and we'll do a second one soon.
I'm sorry to cut you off, bro. That's dope. How can we find you, and how can we find and tap into like some of these Zoom classes and stuff so we could keep up and tap into that?
You can communicate with me the best over Instagram or Facebook. Look me up on Facebook, Dakarai Akil. My Instagram is DK1994. I also have a couple other Instagram accounts. I have Fuck Y'all Magazine, which is also a zine project that I've been working on. And then my brand Instagram account, This Brand USA. Am I gonna be able to just like put that all in the chat or something like that?
Yeah, you can send it to me. I'm gonna put it at the links in the bottom. Thank you, bro, for tapping into me. I want to talk lightly about your photography skills, the photo shoots, the gear. Everything is amazing, bro. Very inspiring. From the first time I met you, I was like gravitated towards the crew and all of that stuff, man. It got me pumped up always, man. So I don't want to take lightly towards like how you do everything, bro. It's official.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
For sure.